Alright, so in this chapter, chapter 3, titled Lyra's Oxford, it's going to be split into two different sections, so lesson 3 and lesson 4. That's because the chapter is quite long. Now, there are quite a few themes that get touched on in this chapter. Specifically, we see at the start when Lyra's entire world is explained and how it functions and all the different aspects of the magisterium and how Jordan College fits into everything. You sort of see the theme running throughout that nothing in this world could exist without the influence of another. So all of these entities are built together and using different aspects of the powerful parts of the magisterium. So our one theme that comes into play over here, especially considering that Jordan College is mentioned as the forefront of experimental theology, is our main theme, or one of our main themes, of religion, politics, and control. So that's the one thing. Then we see the chapter progress and move on to basically how Lyra lives her life, sort of half wild, half barbarian, like moving through, playing with friends, having play wars with them, even the way in which the children play, the townies versus the college kids, the townies and the college kids versus the brick burners children or the Egyptian children. Even that has an aspect of politicism to it. So that theme runs recurringly throughout the chapter when we look at the way in which these little things or these little aspects of her day-to-day life are put together. Another thing that we see touched upon in this chapter is also the way in which Lyra sort of sees herself as more than just Jordan College. She does know that there is more to her life. So here we can look at the theme of destiny versus free will. Lyra has always felt that she has a destiny that is going to be there for her. And we see this through her connection to Lord Asriel, who comes to the college, sits down with her, talks to her about her studies, and sort of also in a very gentle and subtle way, he eases her into exploring more or exploring different aspects. And in this way, he gently educates her. Similarly to how he allowed her to stay in the wardrobe in the retiring room in chapter 1 and chapter 2. So over there, we see our theme of free will versus destiny come in. Then, of course, a very big aspect of what happened in this chapter was the entire plotline or the storyline of the gobblers. Now, we get introduced to them first and foremost. Lyra is quite intrigued by the rumor. However, the way the narrator frames it and explains things in the story, it shows us that this is actually a concrete fact. When the story of Tony Makarios is told and the way in which the lady with the golden monkey abducts him, we see that this is obviously a real thing that is happening in this world. Now, the two themes that we see over here is destiny versus free will. Obviously, a lot of the children are slaves to their fate. They come from very poor backgrounds. They come from backgrounds where mothers or fathers or families wouldn't notice them going missing. So once we take that into context, we can see that the magisterium, here we can start drawing links already to our current day realities as well. The magisterium, the government of that world, they don't really care much for the impoverished people, the poor people or the poor children. So children can go missing without too much attention being drawn to that fact. Religion, politics, and control play a very big part in the gobblers being able to take the children away. Again, destiny versus free will comes into play here. Tony Makarios didn't really have a say in being abducted by Mrs. Coulter, did he? At the end of the day, she uses her charm and her influence to lure him with very small basic necessities or basic little things that he should have gotten, really, or that he should have had in his life, but that he didn't have in his life. All of this just sort of serves to put together what this journey is that Lyra is going to go into now. She's getting more curious. There are more aspects that she's learning about apart from her day-to-day life. She's growing and she's maturing. So here, in that regard, our theme of childhood, innocence, and maturity comes into play. And then lastly, a very important aspect of the gobblers. And a notable quote that you will get from the chapter, or at least the first half of the chapter, is that Mrs. Coulter the lady with the golden monkey, was taking children that had not yet reached puberty. So this will become very important later on in the story when we take a bit of a more deep dive into dust and what that means. But we need to be aware of the fact that all of the children that were sitting in the warehouse that eventually got shipped off to the north by Captain Magnuson were really young, younger than 12 years old. Their demons were still changing, shifting shapes, and they had not yet reached puberty. So there we have our theme of childhood, innocence, and maturity coming through. And those are some of the very important themes in this section of the chapter, and we will carry on with the extension of it in lesson number 4.